Welcome back to what is the final episode of Rao Jewelers presents Raging Mouth, the Mike North story. Mike, this is kind of bittersweet. This has been a monumental project, but this is the last one. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling good, and you know what? I know that we've talked that we could probably do four more episodes. I've been very blessed to do a lot of stuff, Aldo, and you've been very blessed. But you know what? You've done a tremendous job. They've been great. We haven't had a whole lot of publicity for them. A whole word of mouth has been the main thing. Hoping everybody enjoys it. You're going to miss a good story if you don't, but I know you'll be happy when this is over because then we get.
I'll have to take a little vacation.
Yes, it's done.
Yeah, but this project has been a one of my favorites in my career. Your life story is truly should be a Hollywood movie, and hopefully that's what this series is going to help make happen.
Right. And
Um,
people forget we're doing this for the people, but we're doing this also because Adam Rifkin, the director of The Last Movie Star, Detroit City, uh, he said we need something like this.
Yeah, indeed. And so let us start this final episode with a story, Mike. When I visited your house for the first time, one of the first things you did when you took me down into your fabulous basement, just
Hmm.
huge, you showed me a photographs of somebody and you asked me, do you know who this is? So I'll let you pick up the story from there.
I was told that Joe Lombardo said hello.
Joseph Joey the Clown Lombardo. Lombardo has been identified by federal investigators as a high-ranking member of the Chicago crime syndicate. Lombardo reportedly is the chief of labor union operations for the mob.
I said, okay, Joe Lombardo said hello. I don't know, I have no idea. Boom. About a week or two later, I'm out. I get a call from a friend. Are you going to be downtown tomorrow or tonight? Because this happened like in 20 years ago. And I said, yeah, why? He goes, Joey Lombardo wants to see you. As in Joey, aka the Clown Lombardo, would like to meet you, not see you. And I went, excuse me? And he says, yeah, he's a big fan. And he wants to meet you at this bar on Grand Avenue. I said, okay, because I figured I'm not coming. Okay. Tell him I don't want to meet him. You know, same situation that I hearkened with Frank Sinatra back in the day when Carlo Gambino and other people of those reputations wanted to meet Sinatra. He took the picture. He knew him anyway. And he took heat for it. But, I figured, what the hell? I'll go there. I go to the bar and I'm with my buddies, a few of my buddies, and a lot of people are in there. And here he comes from the back room. Short man. I knew who it was right away. And he comes over, he goes, how you doing? Starts shaking hands. Good. And he had been in jail previously for something. And he was out, of course. And we talked. And I'll never forget, there was a hair and a puddle of water on the table. He goes, look at that hair. There really wasn't one. We all looked at it. He goes, boom. He hits it. We got a little spray of water. He goes, and he goes, you fell for it. I go, okay, yeah, we fell for it. Yay! Really good guy. He goes, you know what? We should play golf someday. I go, okay, when do you want to play? He goes, when do you want to play? I go, he goes, how about, I don't know if it was tomorrow or the next week, but we played at Nordic Hills golf, me and Joey Lombardo alone. And it turned into a 6-week. I only saw him 5 times in 6 weeks. 2 times on Grand and May. He had a building there. I saw Johnny Lira walk in there, the former middleweight contender. Another time, I met him and we ate at a deli. We played golf. And then I had a show at Hollywood Casino. And Walter Payton was the guest, packed to the rafters. And I do the show. John Shaky Suntress opens it up. And I look out, and sitting at the table in the back of the banquet room is one man, Joey Lombardo. And I go, wow. You know, is he even supposed to be here? I don't know if he's supposed to be there or not. He comes up, I shake hands with him. That's it. After the show, hi man, how you doing? You know, we go to eat at the Fairbanks room. He comes in. He sat at another table right next to us. He goes, you don't want to sit with me. I'll sit next to you guys. And there was like 5 or 6 of us. BeBe was there, John Suntress, some other people. And John Suntress, if anybody knows Shaky, has the glasses, sort of heavy. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget Joey Lombardo goes, hey, you could be my son. You look like an ape. Like that.
Oh, my goodness.
We started laughing, but Shaky goes, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, sweet guy, nice guy. Nice guy. We drank. I found out he liked Westerns. So I bought him a box set of Western Shane, you know, some of the best Westerns. High Noon. It was a 4-box set. He couldn't believe it. He goes, this is nice. He pulled out some homemade wine at this place that we were at. Me and my friend, I brought a friend, and we talked for a couple hours at a time. Nothing brought up of any consequence. The only thing he ever said to me was the real organized crime was in Washington. That was the one thing he said about me. Said to me that was even close to anything. Did I know some of the stuff that he had done? Absolutely. But was he revered in our neighborhood? I hate to say it. See, I met Ed Verdoliak. I met Mayor Daley. I met Joey Lombardo. Anybody that was at the top of their professions in city government or what have you. Pat Ryan of Aon. I met a lot of heads of industries. I looked at Joey Lombardo as the head of an industry, but he was older at the time. He was dressed, you know, just like us normally. And it lasted 6 weeks. And then he comes out like with them one day and he says, we walk in front of the place. You got to get out of here. I said, why? He says, just get out of there. They're out to get you. They'll be out to get you. I go, that's okay. You know, I don't, you know, that won't be the first time. He goes, they'll be out to get you. Just, Mike, I'm telling you, don't do it. You're a great talent. You're great at what you do. We talked about 2 things. He was a competitor. He was a good athlete. Hell of a handball player. Lost to a guy in handball. Played for 6 months without the guy knowing it. For big money, he came back and played him and beat him. Bowling, the same way. When he was in the place, he said he became an expert chess player and rummy player. So that was the gist of it. But I only saw him over the 6 weeks about 4 or 5 times. 5 times to be exact.
Is it safe to say that you've always had like a fascination with the underworld?
Oh my God! I mean, yeah. One night we're together. I said, "You want to take a picture?" He goes, "Sure." So we took a picture together, and there it is, yeah, right here. And people get fascinated with The Sopranos. People get fascinated with Goodfellas, right, and The Godfather, right? I was no different than Henry Hill. I wasn't a made guy or anything, but I was right there with the head guy, as far as I know, or one of the top guys of all time. So, yeah, we were.
Are you admitting to? Huh? Are you admitting to having committed crimes?
No, but I mean, if I wanted to look, I did everything that I didn't commit no crimes. I was Henry Hill without the crimes. If I wanted to go golfing, I went golfing. If I wanted, you know. For the most part, I was given carte blanche, not because of him. I mean, just because of my position and stuff. But then to get in and talk to him, you know, and to become friends with him. And I wasn't out to do any digging or anything. He trusted me. And he did tell me, we got a lot in common. I go, what do we got? What do we got in common? I'm a high school dropout. You're a high school dropout. And you're pretty good at what you do, you know? And he says, I
Mhm.
really enjoyed the show. Was a Cub fan, talk sports most of the time because he wasn't doing anything. I think he was retired, basically. And then in 2007, with the Family Secrets trial, he got reconvicted again, and then he went away again.
You also met with somebody who purportedly had a lot of connections with the mob, and that is Frank Sinatra. Tell us about your meeting with old Blue Eyes.
That was the greatest too. I mean, my God, I'm with my wife. We're at the Paris Hotel, and Frank Sinatra's appearing there. And no, excuse me, the Desert Inn. We were at the Desert Inn, and my buddy Tom Benani had just been transferred from the Paris Hotel to the Desert Inn, and Frank Sinatra was playing. And I met them, Tony Orthino. If you saw the Don Rickles or any of those, he was Don Rickles' manager. He was in the Dean Martin special. You see Tony in the Dean Martin TCM documentary. He was friends with Frank. He was the manager of Don Rickles. So they said, "You want to go to the concert? You want to go to the show?" I go, "Yeah." Well, the next thing I know, I'm sitting in the booth right in front of the stage, me and my wife. We were going to plug the hotel and everything, and they had just remodeled the Desert Inn, and here he comes singing, and he's right in front of us. And I was with a bunch of people, and after the show, we were asked, or before the show ended, the maitre d' came up and said, "Hey, Frank Sinatra wants you to come to a private party." I go, "Excuse me?" "He wants you to come to a private party, you and your wife." He saw it. He's watching from the stage, and this was his booth. I go, "Okay," and he sent you over some champagne. He wants you to come to the party at the Forum Lounge. Keely Smith, the great Louis Prima and Keely Smith fame, will be performing for about 25 to 30 of you. I think Nick Caruso was with me from Jilly's, Nick Caruso Sr., some other people were there that we knew. And we go to the Forum Lounge down the hallway, not far, about 50 yards. And he's singing, and there's like 30 people in this bar that's closed down. And it's a long table, and we're all sitting there. And we sat there for 2.5, 3 hours, and nothing. He didn't say nothing to nobody except to the people that were by him. And some people would come up, and I go to B, "Listen, let's get out of here." I'll say, we'll just go out the back way. We'll leave from here, and there's a door right there. We don't have to go by him. We appreciate it. Me and B get up. We go to walk out, and I hear, "Where you going?" "Where you going?" "It's Frank Sinatra asking me where I'm going." I go, "To the bathroom. We'll be right back." We go outside. We go, "B, he goes, and he had told me, 'Come back here when you get back.'" I come back. He had the whole scoop on me. "Hey, you're from Chicago, huh?" "Yeah." "You do a talk show?" "Yeah." How the Cubbies doing?" I go, "Okay." Then he started with, he's doing these little short glasses of Jack and soda. Ding, ding, ding. I mean, pounding. And it's like 11 at night or 12 at night, smoking Camels.
Hmm.
And we talked for about 15 minutes. I said, "It's nice to meet you." I mean, this is a guy I've seen on TV since I was a kid. Just unbelievable. My hair in the back of my neck stood up. Only one of the few guys I've ever been intimidated by that I met. Because I met a lot of people. This guy intimidated me. I met the Pope. He didn't intimidate me as much as the Pope. Period. End of story. And just was a great night.
That's outstanding. And
Yeah.
didn't he give you a gift on the way out?
Yeah, he gave me a pack of Camels. And he goes, "I want you to take this pack of brand new Camels." And I told you the story, so I know I can tell it because, Aldo, you want to hear it.
That's right.
I go, "Listen, wonder if can I get something from you signed or something?" He goes, "Here's a pack of brand new Camels." Short pack, the shorts, non-filter. Said he was smoking. He had one after the other. I go, "That's nice, Mr. Sinatra, but who's going to believe that? I mean, who's going to believe him unless there's a signature?" He goes, "Who in the hell would give you a pack of Camels?" If you say Frank Sinatra gave you a pack of Camels, you can't make that up. I go, "Okay." I take the pack of Camels. I show my mom. The first thing she says, no, he didn't. I go, yes, he did. He gave me the pack of Camels. About 5 years later, she's reading Parade magazine. Dennis Miller took his mother to see Frank Sinatra. Afterwards, he got to meet Frank Sinatra. And he gave Frank Sinatra gave him a pack of Camels. And he tells the story in Parade magazine. My mom goes, he did give you a pack of Camels. I go, that's it. And they still stand. They're still there. Some 30 years later, they're still on the shelf, man.
That is great.
Yeah.
Okay, let us turn to a couple of other things you wanted to talk about before we get to Fox Sports. While you were at the Score, you did a couple of promotional things like Bowl-O-Rama. Tell us about that.
The Bowl-O-Rama was me and Jeff Schwartz getting together saying, I'm sick of golf outings. People golf together. You know, you see the celebrities before, and then you might see them if you go to the banquet afterwards. I want the celebrities to be on the bowling alleys. And then I want people to pay to get in. And what you do is you pay $15, you get a bowling pin to sit in the audience. If you only did bowl with you had to pay much more. But you got a bowling pin too that was signed by everybody. And we had people like Jerome Bettis, Evander Holyfield. I'll never forget that. We had the heavyweight champion of the world currently bowling on Alley 8. Okay. We had George the Animal Steele, the wrestler. We had all the bulls. We had Bob Probert. You know, we had Tony Amonte. We had all the anchors, Joan Esposito, Allison Payne. We did that for 4 straight years and raised plenty of money for multiple sclerosis and other things. And we had, but the biggest guest I ever landed to come in, we had to go pick up Evander Holyfield at the airport, Delta Airline Terminal. And here he comes. My favorite guy of all time. And who I won a lot of money with when he fought Tyson twice. And I found out Brunswick set me up with them, and the Brunswick people were great. The one person that was supposed to come that couldn't make it because of illness, who was working for Brunswick later into her career, Lauren Bacall. And she was supposed to come, and she couldn't make it. But other than that, we had all the bulls, Elton Brand at the time, just great people, baseball players, football. Cade McNown of the Bears at the time, Marcus Robinson, the wide receiver, just all sorts of people. And what would happen is people would bowl with them, but then the celebrities would move down. So you get to bowl with 3 celebrities instead of just golfing with 1 celebrity for 18 holes. Plus the celebrities stuck around and played pool and hung out with everybody. It was a giant success. Arlington Heights Lanes for 4 years.
That's incredible. What a great idea.
And we were the first to do Bowl-O-Ramas. Now Kerry Wood and other people do them. They do Bowl-O-Ramas all over. We did these Bowl-O-Ramas in the early 90s. They were brand new, and they didn't even know the concept. I don't even know if they do it the way we did it. You could bowl with Jerome Bettis, then he'd move over after their game. Here comes Evander Holyfield, and then here comes Jimbo Covert. So you'd bowl with 3 celebrities because you had 3 games.
That is sensational.
Always great, man.
Oh, and we're going to talk about a number of people before this episode is over. But since you're on the topic of Jeff Schwartz, who helped come up with that idea with you, tell us a little bit about your relationship with Jeffrey Schwartz.
Oh, great guy. Still my friend. He was with me on a lot of the things that we did. He fought other people. Other people wanted to do more stuff with him. And he said, well, you know what? Right now, and he tried to spread it out. But Jeff and I have been friends. We're still friends. And he's a genius. He should be working at some radio station, but he's 73 now. He was sort of like pushed in the background. He's older now. But if I ran a radio station, I would have him involved in some way. He had the Score Girls. What he did is he got a modeling agency. He had jerseys made up that said WSCR, the Score, knockout women, and they'd appear at the events with us. That was Jeff Schwartz. I mean, there was actual sizzle to the promotions. You just didn't go in and see 2 guys, doing radio. You'd have Score Girls handing out stuff and this and that. We did a lot of promotions together, but the Bowl-O-Rama was a big one that Jeff and I did, and we did some other things together. Most successful, some not.
Yeah. Well, and those who may not
Roosevelt
know,
High School kid. Roosevelt High School kid, too.
Yeah. And while he was at another station, he
Yeah.
was mostly responsible for Disco Demolition. Him and Steve Dahl.
Yes,
Isn't
he
that true?
was. He
Yeah.
never got the credit he deserved. It was sort of, but it's not the first time an idea is going to be stolen from somebody. It wasn't. He was there and he came up with the original concept. But he's been on a few of these specials. But I think Mike Veck and other people tried sort of stole his thunder on that. But that was him. It was him.
Let's talk about Jesse Rogers, who you had a long connection with at the Score, and what he's meant to your radio career.
Still friends with him to this day. We had dinner not too long ago. Been friends with Jesse for 32 years. Been to both of his weddings, and friends with his whole family. And I just said, this guy's the real deal. He had guts. He had determination. He knew that me and Dan Jiggets would not accept just average guests. We had to have Bobby Knight if he could. He followed Bobby Knight on the bus. He never got him. Bobby Knight threw him off the bus. But he walked all the way on the Indiana bus because Bobby Knight had told him while they were walking, no. So Bobby Knight goes up the bus at Northwestern, and he turns around, and Jesse's going, please, I can get $500. There's a bounty on you, because I used to pay Jesse if he got me a huge guest. I mean, we had Bill Clinton on, we had Joe Pesci on. I'd give him $500, a bounty, to get the big guests. Two guys he couldn't get, Joe DiMaggio, and he tried, and Bobby Knight. Those were the two guys that he didn't get. We got guys like Tom Glavine, Bill Clinton. He didn't get Jack Nicholson, but he had Jack Nicholson yell on the phone for us. That counts.
Yeah.
He got us, I don't know if it was Jen Patterson or Jesse that got us Michael Jordan. I think it was Jesse that got us Jordan in Sarasota. Strictly the best, I think, talk show host producer, in my opinion, that's ever lived. He wasn't worried about getting on the air. Okay. He let nature take its course. I did throw some monkey wrenches into his. He was with me the night that, we got busted, and he was with me. But we went to Baltimore. We went on trips together. We went to Penn State to watch Illinois. We just had the time of our lives. He's a good buddy. Webbio, he was with me with. I mean, two of the big, but when you stay with somebody for 34 years, 32 years, you're going to have good times. You're going to have bad times. And he just turned into this great, hardworking reporter now for ESPN and BeBe and I mean, every time we see him, we smile. So Jesse's one of the great guys, and he's the most loyal guy in a lot of ways that you'll ever want to meet. He's and anything you say to him, he hushes up about, as far as I know.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he's definitely one of the best baseball beat writers in the country.
Oh my God,
covering the Cubs and Sox for ESPN. You can hear him on the radio quite often. Mike, there is on my notes here the 6-block stumble. What is that?
Well, the marathon became big in Chicago around the time we were on the air, and we would be sponsored by them. And they sponsor radio every year, and they do a great job, the marathon, but I was never into that. And the big thing was back then, I don't care how long it takes me. I just want to finish. It will be an accomplishment. And at the time, I said, if that's what you're shooting for in your life, to feel like you accomplished something, I said, there's about 100 other things that you can do too. Because there were people dropping exhausted. We had some deaths out there on real hot days. I remember years back, there was a problem with some of the runners. We had a pit. And I said, you can turn anything into an event. And some guy goes, well, what would you do? Would you run in the marathon? No, but I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do the 6-block stumble. And what we did is we ran 6 blocks radius around the station. We ran from Cicero down to Laramie to Belmont. You know what I'm saying? And and people were lined, like in the Chris Zorge thing. In fact, I got a picture of this too. And me and Jesse are running, and people they're handing us drinks. I don't know what's in them, And we had hot dogs afterwards. We had a big layout of food, stuff you don't see at marathons. But They do 26 miles. We did six blocks, and we got a lot of play out of that.
Phenomenal story.
Yeah. I'm working nights today.
Listen, before we get to Fox Sports, I want to ask you, was there anyone else during the Score years that you'd like to do a shout out to during this portion before we transition over?
I'd like to thank Dan Mason, who what happened was Howard Stern had quit at CBS, and Brandmeier had quit at CBS, and he was supposed to sign. And I have to tell this story. And they didn't sign. So at that time, CBS lost two of its biggest stars, Howard Stern and Jonathan Brandmeier. At the time, I was sitting near or at the top at the Score, which was a CBS thing. I told B, I got 2 years left on my contract. I'm making $700,000 a year. I said, I got to strike while the iron's hot. She goes, what do you mean? I go, I got to try to get some money now because they just got shocked by two guys leaving. They don't want a third guy leaving. She goes, they're not going to do that, you think? And I go, I think they will be, but I got to go to Potomac, Maryland. That's where I don't know if it was Westinghouse or CBS. It's where Dan Mason's office was. So I ended up taking a comp day, the only day I've ever taken off in my life. I told the management I couldn't be there because I had been in negotiations. I was dealing with the guy in Pittsburgh. And the first thing the guy said, here's how much money I want. And the guy said, Dan Rather doesn't make that much. And I said on the speakerphone, I don't give a fuck about Dan Rather. And I don't care. Don't bring up other people. Okay. I'm better than Dan Rather. That's why I told him what I do. Well, nothing went of it. So I get home and I go, I'm going to Potomac, Maryland. So BeBe booked me a flight that evening. I flew to Washington, took a car to Potomac, Maryland, stayed at the Embassy Suites. The next morning, I go to the office of Dan Mason, who's a good guy. Danny was a great guy. I walk in, and they go, the lady goes, can I help you? I go, yeah, I'm Mike North from Chicago. Oh, really? I'm here to see Dan Mason. And she goes, do you have an appointment? I go, no, I was in the area. So can I just sit down here? She goes, yeah. Well, I see her get on the phone. And she looks and she goes, Mr. North, would you come here, please? I come over. He'll be here in just a little bit. I go, okay. So I go back and sit down. I never met the man. Door opens. He comes walking down this long hall, first floor, like in a strip mall. And he goes, Mike, Dan Mason, how you doing? I go, I'm doing great, Mr. Mason. He goes, what are you doing here? I said, I wanted to talk to you. I want to cut a deal. He goes, well, come on in. I goes, you took the initiative to fly here overnight? I go, yes. I'm sitting in his office, and he says to me, what's going on? I go, I got 2 years left on my deal. I'm making 700 large. I said, how much? I mean, I'd like to get an extension, but I'd work for the 700 now. And the reason I want to talk to you is I've been trying to negotiate with the other people. I figure, why go? I'll go to you. He goes, well, how much you want? I go, 1.5 million. And I had been discussing this with B. And I had asked Steve Mandel, an agent, and who was the other guy? Joe Wiseman, who was on WTTW, but he's also an agent. How much you guys think I can get? They said probably $1 million at the most. So me and B, I get with B, I say I'm going to ask for 1.5. And if it ends up in $1 million, that's fine. The one thing I don't want to do is get fired, or he tells me get back and don't ever come here again. So I come in, he's very gracious. We talk for about an hour. He goes, let's go have lunch. We go have lunch at this Chinese place across the strip mall. We're eating, I think it was Chinese. We're eating. We come back, and I said, what do you think? He goes, how much you want? I go, 1.5 million. He goes, that's doable. You got a deal. Signed a 5-year deal, 1.5 million. Worked for the remaining 2 years of my other 5-year deal, where I kept it at 700. I think that's what tipped the scales. I didn't want all that. I didn't want him to tear up the contract. I said, and they didn't. They asked me if I wanted. If they wanted to do ratings incentives. I go, have I ever come to work and not given 100%? They said no. Have I ever missed a day? They said no. He said no. I said, look at my record. He checked the record. And that's how I got it. And I flew home on cloud 9. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. It was just, it was good. And the other thing was, and then it got in all the papers, and boy, then there was envy and jealousy, you know, the usual things. You know, the media,
Sure.
you know, they got a lot of nerve talking about people that are jealous of Caitlin Clark. Nobody's more jealous than the media people. Nobody. I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes. I've witnessed it, not only with me, but with other people. You know, people come up to me, how did this person get that? How did that person get that? Because they had the guts to ask for it, and they worked for it, period.
You've talked about writing books. You should write a book about how to negotiate the W contract.
I said, now's the right time. I just felt two of their major stars. Stern was huge to leave. And then Brandmeier agrees to something and then says no. Now they're set back. So that was great. The other thing I want to bring up was softball in high schools. I started softball in the high schools. 16-inch softball was dying. I decided, you know what? Let's make it a letter sport. I meet with Paul Vallis and J.W. Smith. It took 2 hours. I talked them into it. We got 53 schools, one of the biggest softball leagues of all time. It was going on. It's still going on. Rahm Emanuel stopped it, which I don't know why, because it's the cheapest sport to do. Bat, ball, some bases, some uniforms. And it's been going on for years. I think Lane Tech won this year. But Clementi's won. Other teams have won. And it became a letter sport. Because not everybody could play hardball. Not everybody can play hardball. And I designed it to keep the kids off the school, out of the schools, off the streets. So you had another 5,300 kids, 530, 540 kids playing softball that wouldn't have normally played softball. So, you know, and I tried to get sponsorship. I wanted all the businesses like Allstate. I think Chicago sports teams, sports schools, I think like Sen High School, like the Cubs are sponsored now, and baseball teams. I think like, where did you go? Clementi should be sponsored by the stock exchange. I think Sun High School should be sponsored by, Shell Oil. You know, any business. I think that Lane Tech should have Allstate on their uniforms. That would supplement sports in Chicago. And I gave that to Mayor Daley, and I went to the Board of Education with it, a big-ass building with a bunch of fat-ass people sitting around doing nothing. And I pitched this, and I got turned down.
Well, that's too bad, because that would have been a great revenue source. And
still do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine the Burger King Von Steuben team. McDonald's. Just different. McDonald's sponsoring. CVS. It would be great. You wear their logo. You got their uniform on all the time, but got turned down.
Yeah. Before we go on, Mike, I'd like to just pause right now and recognize our sponsors, Raleigh Jewelers, located in Hoffman Estates. They are, you can phone them at 847-765-3000. They're right off the expressway on Barrington Road, and they are sensational.
They are. They're the best, and they're a wonderful place right there at 847-765-3000. Go see the Gams guys, Brad, Ryan, all the great people that work there. They're just tremendous people, and we couldn't have done this without them. And at quite an expense, I might add, which is, I don't know how, I don't know. I might have tapped Brad. No, I didn't tap Brad out, believe me.
That's funny.
Good
Okay.
friend.
I want to talk about the CBS show. We talked a little bit about it in the prior episode, but to give people proper context, tell me how that whole thing started and what were some of the life lessons that you went through during that period.
Well, that was a deal where after I got kicked out of Comcast because of the Webio deal, and I left not because of Webio, because I came back from that, but our contract ended, and it was just an unrealistic contract. But they made their money over there, and we had a great show. I walked into CBS, okay, and there was a guy named Bruno Cohn at the office, and he was running the show. He had just gotten a job from Buffalo, New York, and they agreed. A guy named Jeff Kernan. I don't know if you know him, Al. He agreed to it in principle. Okay, me, Jen Patterson, and Jiggets. Now, what happened from there, I have no idea. Did somebody get cold feet? Did somebody change the deal? Somebody did, because I met Steve Mandel in a gangway by State Street there or somewhere, McClure Court, and it was raining. He goes, they're going to add Terry Savage and Mike Hegich. I think his name was Mike. And we're going to add money. It's going to be called Monsters of Money. I go, that's not what I wanted. So somebody went behind my back. I don't know the exact story, but I never bought into it. And I signed a lucrative deal for 2 years. The show lasted 6 months because it wasn't what I wanted to do. It would still be on today. But they didn't want to switch. As it turned out, they got chicken. We could have done the sports show in the morning on CBS, which would do better ratings than they do on the news at that time. They've been a shop that's been in peril for a long time. People were great, but quite frankly, we beat them when we were at Comcast. So now I was coming to another team, but with the same people working behind the scenes, because they were all union people, but they were all great. It was just hijacked the deal. Okay. And I don't know how it happened, but they didn't tell me until everything was official. So I was stuck. Okay. Except for one thing. I never believed in it, and it went away after 6 months because they didn't do what they should have done. And they did. I had to end up working that deal after getting it hijacked. And it's nothing new in TV, but it is something new when everybody else knew except me. It was basically the second time in my opinion, I believe I was deceived at something. Bottom line is, I got severance pay for the next year and a half, and I didn't have to do anything. So it was good, but it was a setback because I think if we had just done the sports show in the morning, that would have been a better product, and you could have fit in news that way. You didn't do a round table thing like they do on the 5 on Fox, and that might have been ahead of its time, but it was the wrong vehicle at that time.
Where did you land after that? Your obligation to CBS.
After that, I get a call from Bruce Gilbert, a guy named no, Bruce wasn't there yet. Schwartz got a job with Fox Sports Radio, and he talked to a guy named Don Martin, who's the president. He's still over there, just not as powerful as he used to be, from what I understand. But he's still there. Don was a good guy. Don gave me the opportunity. Schwartz talked him into it. He said, but Don had, heard all the rumors and how much trouble I can be. See, the people, not only do they knock you out, then they chirp about you. I said, man, Schwartz told him, you don't have a trouble with him. I did weekends for 3 years. No problem. Solo. Taught me a lot. I didn't have a partner. So then Bruce Gilbert gets the job. And Bruce Gilbert calls me. He goes, is this Mike North? He goes, yeah. He goes, we got a problem on our morning show. One of the guys ain't showing up sometimes. He's not getting it done. And Andy Furman and Jonas Knox? I go, yeah. How would you like to you're a superstar. I know about it. I know I followed your career. How would you like to work the morning show? Bingo. I'm back. I'm going up against Mike Greenberg, 220 affiliates. First day, we're getting ready for the first day. Andy Furman, who's one of my dear friends. Andy, Jonas is on now on the morning show there. It's just not as good as ours was. They had Clay Travis eventually replace me. He left after about a year. He didn't make out. So he just went and made $110 million with his website. So he did good, but it took Clay Travis. But I was there for 3 years. And they told me I was doing a tremendous job. And I was doing, the affiliates love me. But the affiliates also would cancel. I know the Rick Pitino scandal. We let him have it. Everybody knows what Rick Pitino did in Louisville. I mean, they had supposed hookers in the dorms and everything else. Louisville canceled our show because we let Rick Pitino have it. And then there was a couple other incidences. But the coup de grace was when I basically, I said a couple other things. Jessica Mendoza was a tough one. She was the lead analyst on baseball, and I made him. I used to name the worst announcer of the year every year. Ed Farmer's won it, even back in the day. Joe Buck won it, Tim McCarver, Darren Jackson, people that were announcers that I didn't think were all that good at the time. So I said Jessica Mendoza. Well, all of a sudden I was being shamed for criticizing her. And what I made the mistake is I said that she might be the worst of all time. I should have just said, no, she's the worst this year. But she's no longer on the telecast. But that hurt because the guy that was incidental in her hiring at ESPN became the boss at Fox. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But what was funny, Aldo, is the people that were calling me sexist because I criticized her were really the sexists. Because they felt she needed reinforcement. And she could stand up on her own, but she was on Good Morning America when people criticized her. They were trying to hype her up and stuff like that. I wish her nothing but the best. I think that they should have started her. If they wanted to start her, I don't think they should have started her on the main telecast. I thought they should have given her like the second team. You know what I mean? They do more than one game. They do and she could have been able to sit in. I thought they rushed her into it, and I think she's much better now. So, it was just a tough time. And I didn't think I deserved it. I could have taken some action the way that it all went down, that I was let go. But I was appreciative of Fox. I still go on every so often. Jonas Knox and Andy are still my friends, and Andy does a morning show. But we had a great show. We had fun.
And one of the big problems with the Fox show was that they couldn't get a Chicago affiliate to pick it up. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I found out that, I will say this. Bruce Gilbert was my guy at Fox. He came to Chicago, didn't get a call. Didn't get a call. Took over a station, didn't get a call. So, the one thing that I think was good for me, I wanted them to get a Fox affiliate, and they were trying. Okay? But somebody always got in their way. But I didn't care. I was on the air. I didn't care. I was on in 220 markets. I was on in Louisville. I was on in Philadelphia. I was on in Los Angeles. I was on in a lot of different places. I was on in some big cities. I had, that's how I got a lot of my Twitter feed. I had so many affiliates. You get 2,000, 3,000 people per affiliate. You're going to build up your Twitter feed. And then I kept going, and that was great. Fox. I wish, I consider, I've been on Jonas's. They could call me anytime they want. That was handled badly. Period. End of story. I moved on from that though, because it doesn't do any good, Al. You know what I mean? Just go to the next project, baby. And then I'm sitting at home. I don't know if you were going to bring this up. Should I bring it up?
Yes, please.
I'm sitting at home and I see this guy that looked like the guy that killed Tony Montana on Twitter. And he's got sunglasses, badass looking guy. One of the greatest things I ever did in my life. I go, this guy looks sinister. I got to meet him. I got to meet this guy. So I don't know how it came about. I know we almost got in an argument the first time we got together, second time we had talked, and we haven't been in one since. And I met you, and I knew. I said, Barroom's the place for me. It's the place for me. Great people. This guy looks good. This guy's a hardworking guy. He's got a dream. He's got a passion. He wants to do it. And I remember every show we've done. I don't think I've ever missed a show. I know, and we produce Raging Mouth here. We produce Somebody Big Just Died here. We've done bear shows here, and you and I have done our shows, have done all sorts of different things. I think it's going to keep going. We got a dream of bigger and better things. And if it wasn't for the Barroom, I wouldn't have been hired by ESPN, period.
Tell us that story, Mike, about how, because when you approached me, you told me, we're talking to people at ESPN. But in the meantime,
you believe me? I never asked you
that. He did mention it. And so,
And I didn't ask, but did you believe me?
Oh, yeah, I believed you. Absolutely.
Because BeBe couldn't believe it. BeBe couldn't believe it. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
She's been right about almost everything. Okay. But she knows I've been righter. Okay, about things. And I said, listen to me. I got to change my act. I got to get on the Barroom. I got to do some handicapping. I got to change. I can't be the talk, but I can incorporate my talk within the wagering community. I started in 1989 a show called on Broker Time Radio, 1240 WSBC, which today would be a podcast. Only you had to pay some money back then. Called the NFL Handicap Show. I thought gambling was right around the corner. And it wasn't. It just happened. But we had a great following, and that's how I got my job originally. So I decided to go back to my roots. Well, I get into Sun Times with Dan McNeil and, the one that David Kaplan's in now and other guys. And I start out, Mark Potash says, come on board. Said the Barroom on. No, I couldn't get the Barroom on it. I forget what I put on there. There's some, I don't know what I did.
I think it was just your Twitter handle. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, Twitter north to north. Exactly. Good call. Well, I went 18-1-1 with my best plays. Now, ESPN, Adam Delavin's watching this. I'm not on the radio in Chicago. I haven't been on radio on a full-time basis since 2006 in any genre in Chicago. Okay. I've done podcasts. I've done more radio around the country, from Las Vegas, with all my Munch Bishop in Cleveland, JT the Brick in Vegas. I was on a handicap site for a while to get more credibility. I did fantastic, made money for the company, Jeff Allen and all those guys. The Philly Godfather I worked for a year. He taught me some of the ropes. But they found out quickly I could pick games. And Delavin's watching all this. And they know gambling's around the corner. And he talks his guys into having me on once a week. And Jeff Schwartz came up with the name The Odds Couple. And Delavin says, he calls one night. This is Adam Delavin from ESPN. I go, excuse me? He goes, yeah, this is Adam Delavin from ESPN. I go, is this a prank? Because I was the Antichrist over there. And I still feel sometimes a little tension because I used to battle them. But they're all good guys. They're all terrific guys. How would you like to do a show? Well, it took us 9 months to negotiate a deal because I wasn't going to budge unless I got the money I wanted. It was for only 1 hour. But he told me, you're going to get more opportunities. You will get more opportunities. Maybe you'll go to Bristol with the show and stuff like that. Maybe he was lying, maybe he wasn't, but he got me in, right? And he says, how would you like to work with Carmen DeFalco? Well, first I had to figure out. I used to see Sylvie at events. I go, hi, Carmen. And I used to see Carmen. How you doing, Sylvie? You know? So the first thing I had to do was find out that was Sylvie, who's born on the same day as me, September 10th, and that's Carmen. How about Carmen DeFalco? I go, well, I guess. What am I supposed to say? I'll be the second banana. Just like I was at Fox. It's easier to be the second banana. I love being the second banana. At Fox, they thought I was going to take over the show. I go, I don't give a damn. Just don't send me a script. Andy Furman the first night sent me a script. I said, don't ever send me a script. I know anything you want to talk about, I'll know about. I get with this Carmen DeFalco. This kid is unbelievable. This guy is unbelievable. He's not kidding anymore. We've been together 5 years. He busts his tail. He's so good on the air. He's good at what I used to be able to do. Just get the commercials in, do the stuff you got to do, but also so knowledgeable about gambling. He's the perfect guy for me. I feed off him. We have a terrific show. Adam Delavan, thank you. What's the other guy's name? The head boss. I forgot his name. It's blanking right now. That was there at the time. But I want, hey, Adam, you know who I'm talking about. Schwartzy will remind me. How could you forget his name? He helped you get in, and it's just drawing a blank right now. So it's on its 5th year. And I just do my hour show. It's podcasted. We sometimes get up to 10, 12,000 people views. So I'm like, it's on, like, you can go to it anytime. That's what podcasting has done. I never dreamt that podcasting, I think what radio people did for a while, they were feeling so good that they took their eye off the ball, because now you got places like Barstool and Jim Pastor. Thank you, B. That was my boy. Sorry, Jimmy Pastor and Adam Delavan. And I thought podcasting has taken the Barstool. Barstool is what the score was. Only the score was on terrestrial radio.
Right.
The one quick story about Barstool. Can I tell you one quick story?
Sure.
I've been down there. Terrific guys. Big Cat was on my WIND show. I met him at an eatery in Evanston. I thought I was going to be I saw him on Twitter. I just started. I'm looking, I go, this guy's terrific. I got to get this guy. Okay. He was just starting out, man. 2010, 11, I forget. I love the guy, Dan Katz. I love him. He came on my show on WIND. I didn't have a whole lot of money. We had a sponsor, but we didn't. I paid him $50 for like a 10-minute segment.
That's wild.
But I didn't know who he was. So I'm just talking, well, what do you think about? I didn't know he was, the Cat. I got a lot of admiration for those guys. And I think that what they've done is they've heard major radio. They've heard radio. All the podcasts have. There's so many alternatives now. It's like cable TV. But ESPN is my cherry on the Sunday. I love them all over there. I love them all. Cap, Jay Hood, Fred Hubner was there. A lot of the people, Jesse Rogers is there. You know, so I get my hour, man. I'm like Bonanza. I'm on once a week, baby. 1 hour. It's a special show, period. And we play it on Saturday, and it's on Saturday after the Sox game right now. And during football season, we have a set time slot. Eric Ostrowski does a great job, and all the other people.
Mike, there's no other way to close off this podcast series than to talk about the love of your life, BeBe North.
Well, let's bring her in, B.
BeBe, you've listened to every second of this podcast series. Is there anything that you want to correct about what Mike said about you, his life, his career?
You could correct 10 things probably from this segment.
Actually, you know, it's funny. I'm sort of like a detail person, And so lots of times when Michael says something, I'll say, but it's really this. He goes, oh, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. So I really just sort of let a lot of that go because that's part of his style. And Mike's a great storyteller. He's a really good storyteller. And so
I would have told better stories, but we were
you have under time constraints. But you know what, though? That's okay because sometimes the story can go on and it can get a little bit.
Well, this is the last one.
A little bit too minutia. Too much minutia.
Which I can do too.
So I'm not going to correct anything. All I'm going to say is he's done a great job. But I'll tell you the truth. There's about at least 100 more things that he could include in
Ellis Island Award.
That it's so many. I mean, but to me, to be honest with you, his talent, because what I love about what Mike's accomplished is that people forget. And I get a little emotional about this because he doesn't have the background, that a lot of people have. And I always respected about him because I went to school. I graduated from college. So, you have a lot. You think that you have all these different things. But I say he's one of the smartest people I know. And when I met Mike, he was in the Army. He was a high school dropout. I was going to Loyola University at the time. Okay. And that was a totally different world for me to be with I'm just being honest, because it was different. I was very much of a school person. But I'm so proud of where he came from and what he's accomplished, because that's not easy to do, what he's accomplished. And I'm just and I knew from the minute I met him that he was a smart guy. I knew it right away. And that's not obviously, I fell for him, but I think that's
unbelievable.
I think his biggest accomplishment is to know where he came from, to be held back in grammar school, to be a high school dropout, to have, I don't know, 1 million days in a row that he cut from a high school, then to be drafted, then to,
work for the Park District.
Picking paper. And then, even when he owned, what I always liked is Mike picked things up quickly. He always picked stuff up really quickly. And he was a fast learner, and we'd want to do something. And what was great about it always would want to say, do you want to do this? Yes. You want to do this? Okay, let's do it. And that's part of the beauty of owning your own business too. And we got so much knowledge and experience and richness to our lives, substance to our lives because of that hot dog stand, the whole thing. Yeah. So anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't expect to do that, but it just, when I think about what he's done,
what we've done.
Well, yes.
Come on.
Yeah, you know what? I know that. But you always give me plenty of credit, so I don't need to take any, because you never take any credit. But I just want to say I think that's the thing that I'm proudest of. Really. Yeah. And of course, staying married for as long as we have, because there were challenges, lots and lots of challenges. Yeah. And there were times when maybe we thought we wouldn't stay married, but here we are. Yeah. Still going on 47 years.
Here we are still.
So
sort of romantic, isn't it?
Yeah. It's okay. And you know what? And where would we be without our dogs? Because our dogs have been giving us so much love and happiness.
And you guys work well together.
And you know what? You forgot to mention, I just realized, adopt a pet.
Go on. It's your segment.
Because well, it was your idea.
Yeah.
And we did it because there were so many dogs that need to be adopted. And Mike said, let's do a segment each week about adopting.
I had to fight him.
And we did.
And then
we had a sponsor, but we got a sponsor for it. That's what changed everything. As soon as the sponsor comes around.
And then Channel 5 did Adopt a Pet.
Right.
Channel 7. We were a radio station that adopted, and some of the hosts didn't like it.
And the part of the thing was, to be honest, it was just because we loved dogs so much. We wished that everybody could have the joy that we had from having a dog. And then also we wanted to help dogs that needed to be adopted. So we sort of covered the whole thing there. And it was really great. It really was. But that's just one thing I wanted to include.
Yeah, you're the best.
I'll never forget watching one of the Basta Pasta shows. And Mike is crediting you as the executive producer. And the way you looked up at him, you were seated in the crowd. And the way you looked at him and the smile and the expression on your eyes was one of pure love. And
Yeah.
I will never, ever, ever forget that image. It's embedded in my mind. It's like, you know, I think a lot of guys are probably feeling jealous. Boy, I wish I had a woman who looked at me that way.
You know what, Elder? I'm going to say something real quick. I had no confidence in myself when I met her. Well, I was getting it back because I was in the Army and I'd done very well there. But I had no confidence in myself. I went back to work with the Park District. I was picking paper, raking leaves, putting up snow fence, making 12 grand a year. And I came, this is the true story. This is called ramifications, kids. And maybe Aldo and I will talk about ramifications someday down the line. When you don't get schooling, when you don't do what you're supposed to do, and one day you're picking paper and raking dog shit, back when people didn't even pick up after themselves. This was in the 70s and 80s. You think you're the hot shot, right? You got a city job, but it was nothing more than a trap. But I'll never forget, there was two people that, two girls I knew that were coming down the street, and I was picking paper, and I hid from them. And I don't know if they saw me or not. They pretended maybe they didn't, but I knew them real well. And I told them I worked for the Park District, but I hid. And I came home that night and I was telling B, I know I'm better than this. And then we decided to get the hot dog stand. But this woman here has stuck by me through everything and through saying like, hey, you know, we're going to make it. We can do a hot dog stand. We can, you know, she was with me on Webio.
You know what I think part of it is too is, you know, really just believing that, you know, that you have what and anything you accomplish, you have to take it from within and know, okay, I'm going to do whatever I can to make this work. And we did. I mean, believe me, if you ever owned a hot dog stand or any kind of business that's your own, you have to be a jack of all trades. You have to do everything, and it's a 24/7 job. It is one of the best trainings of anything, because you're learning so much, and but what you get from within and makes you accomplish things and pushes you. And that's why, you know, I think that people can accomplish so much, so many things, but they just have to believe in themselves, have confidence, and know and be willing to work hard.
You know what we used to do? We lived on, and Aldo knows the whole city. We lived on Belle Plaine and Whipple, basically, Irving and Kedzie. We lived on the 3rd floor. I remember for 2 weeks, we had no air conditioning at our hot dog stand in the summer. And at night, we had no air conditioning in the 3rd floor apartment we lived in on the corner, which was a big courtyard, one of them court buildings. And we suffered for 2 weeks. But what we would do is we'd go to Jewel, or we'd go to a restaurant.
Because it was air conditioned.
It was air conditioned.
And we'd stay.
And we'd walk around. And we'd, you know, we'd either go and sit in the restaurant, Cass and Lou's back in the day on Irving. Monzo's.
Harris Restaurant.
Yeah, Harris Restaurant. And we'd sit there for hours because we had no air. And that's why the thing I love is we did this together. It wasn't one of these deals where a lot of the personalities meet people afterwards, athletes, and meet the girl of their dreams afterwards. Sometimes it works out. We were poor together. We were literally bone-ass poor together. And that's why, you know, the best thing that ever happened to me, and if I do tell her all the time, you know, the things that, you know, she was very patient, like I said, and I told you the other day, you know, I'm so happy she decided to stay with me.
Well, you know what? Can I just say, this is years, I'm not even that long ago, like maybe about 8 years ago. And we were sitting in a restaurant in Las Vegas, the M Resort, and we were having breakfast. And we were sitting there, and Mike said to me, one of the most romantic things he's ever said to me my whole life.
You got the check? Oh.
He said to me, we were just sitting there having, you know, coffee and eating, and he looked at me, he goes, "Thank you for not leaving me."
Yep.
And I thought that was just
a
sweet, sweet thing to say, because he says, "Thank you for never leaving me," because you could have. And I was like, Yeah, I said I could have.
Yeah.
But that was just one of the reasons why I didn't leave.
What do
because
they
of stuff
say,
like
Aldo?
that.
If you knew you're going to live this long, you would have maybe behaved yourself better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
that's-
I'll never forget the story that you shared about, you were gambling and I think this was during the hot dog days or
Yeah.
at some point, and you came home and told your wife, I need $500 because you had a loss.
This is the one thing.
Actually, it was
was
a
more
lot
than
more
that.
than that.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell you, back in our court days, she had and this is one I'll never forget. It always bothered me. She had a coin collection, and we had to turn in the coin collection. And that one I've never lived down, but
It was they were gold. It was a gold.
she had to throw that in on top of everything else.
I just for sake of accuracy.
Yeah, I know. But then as I got more, but then one day she walked out from that to one day she walked out on the driveway of a big house
Right.
with a brand new Mercedes Benz.
Yeah,
Sitting
and it
out
was
there.
parked on the driveway and
With
it
a
was
ribbon around
my
it.
Christmas present.
And
So
so I mean, you know what? I mean,
he
I try to
made
make up for
many
the
times.
coin collection thing bothers me to this day. I never went to you for too much except to go to the bank once in a while.
I'm glad you shared that story because there was one number of things that we've left out. I mean, I can right now there's about 20 things in my mind and we can go another hour, but the one thing we have to share with the audience is the two of you did a vacation in Italy and you invited, I don't know how many it was, 20, 30 of your best, 35 of your best friends. Tell us about, and you paid for everything. Tell us about that moment.
That was, don't forget though what that was, that we were celebrating two things, Aldo. Two things.
We were celebrating our 25th anniversary. And what else?
And you were turning 50.
And I was turning 50. That's it.
Look at that.
So I get the idea. My mom's always wanted to go to Italy, but she's too frugal. Her whole family was.
They all wanted to go, but they would never pay
They would never pay. I took my wedding party, all my buddies I grew up with, the wedding party that we had. We took BeBe's sisters. I took my brothers. I took most of my buddies. I took Louis.
Your aunt and uncle.
My aunt and uncles.
Took some of my nieces and nephews.
I flew 35 people. We flew 35 people to Italy for 10 days. We went to Rome, Positano,
Venezia.
Venice, Sorrento. We went the Amalfi Coast was beautiful. I loved Venice, but my Uncle Joe, I got to take. He took me to my first football game. I got to take my uncles to Italy. I knew it was the best. Listen to this. We had a guide. We had our own buses. We had just the joy I had of seeing all my family and friends do something they'd never do again. To see everybody from Chicago in Venice on gondolas, just in St. Peter's Square.
It was really, honestly,
And
it was
the
a trip of a lifetime. We went to see the Pope.
Pope.
Yeah.
The Pope, the good one. John Paul. It was just, and it was the best $135,000 I ever spent in my life for 10 days. And I wouldn't want.
Again,
Yeah.
accuracy more, but that's
How
okay.
much was it?
We don't even have
Go
to.
on.
But you know what though?
She won't.
One of the big other things
It was
was
more than that.
yes,
We got robbed.
we renewed our vows at the church
At the-
at the top of the Spanish Tower.
That you see in Roman holiday.
Yeah, and that was really cool. And then our family, they did as a surprise for us. As a surprise, they did a party for us that night.
At a castle.
No, that was your birthday party.
Oh, that was my birthday
anniversary party.
Oh, that part, that's the party.
That's
Me and
it.
Louie had the
I-
worst hangovers of our career,
Yeah.
of our lives. We drank it to wine. We must have drank 10 bottles of wine. I'll tell you what, it's been a wild ride, man. It really has. And then
But you know what though? That's one of the things that we said at the time. One of the joys of having some money
what's the sense
is to share it with the people you love.
It's only paper.
And to take them to that trip was as much of a gift to us as it was for them.
Yeah.
Because the joy that we got, like as Mike said, you know, you get, at least we do, we get joy from seeing other people receive. You know, to me, there's more joy in giving than receiving. And we got a lot of joy.
We took people to New York when I got the Ellis Island Award. I mean, when I found out that Ernest Borgnine was getting the Ellis Island Award with me,
Nice.
and Joe Piscopo, when other people, major people have won this award, from Donald Trump to, I mean, everybody as anybody, Sidney Poitier. I mean, I got in with the first black female doctor from Harlem. She was 100 years old. Surgeon, first black surgeon from Harlem. I had to walk her down the aisle. 5,000 people. Reception. We're talking about Mikhail. My buddies and I, they could give two craps about me. We're talking about Mikhail's Navy to Ernest Borgnine. We're talking. How was Joe Flynn as Captain Pink? Oh, he was a character. He was Spencer Tracy. I mean, we're talking movies with this guy. Piscopo was at the height. It's just a magical time. And then
we went to Boston. We went to we took people to Boston. We took people to Vegas. Yeah, but that was like
entourage.
That's the joy of it.
We did the entourage thing that
we were fortunate.
Only we didn't take 4 people with us. Adrian Ganero took only 3 or 4 guys. We took crews. You know, took my buddies and everything, so it was fun.
Outstanding. Well, there they are, Mike and BeBe North, the executive producers of Raging Mouth, the Mike North Story, brought to you by Law Jewelers, and also the producers of A Truly Wonderful Life Together, Mike and BeBe North. Thank you very much for allowing me to be a part of sharing your story to all of your fans.
And Aldo, thank you to you, because you've been you're so talented and so much fun to work with. It's been a real joy to work with you.
We're going to do more good stuff, and something's going to come out of this. I know. We thank you, Aldo, and we thank everybody out there. And I'll be going on 33 years soon, and I'm with 3 of my favorite people here right now. It's all good, and not including all you people. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.